If your reason for leaving a job is to do with salary and you haven't really had that conversation with the boss about a pay rise, then is leaving it to the point at which you're going to get counter offered the best solution? So what do I mean is, should you start applying for a load of jobs and having a little look around, getting a job offer, then going to your boss and negotiate the pay salary? Or is there a better way of doing it? This week I'm going to talk about salary negotiation before you start doing your job search. Why do you need to salary negotiate when leaving a job? And let me put a caveat in this. This is only really for the people that believe that they're paid less than the market rate for that particular role. Well, there's obvious in kind of how I put that caveat in there really. You are being paid a lot less than what the market rate is going. Before you start thinking about looking for another job, maybe you start to negotiate a better pay for your current job. Because let's face it, we don't always like looking for a job. It's quite hard, it's quite stressful, and maybe you enjoy where you work, but the money could be better. So how do you approach it? Now, there's a couple of methodologies out there to do this. My favourite one is the REAP methodology. Now, what is REAP? REAP is research, establish, ask, and then persevere. And what is this? Now, I was listening to this on LBC Radio the other day. I don't know who created it, and I did some research to find out who did create it. And I haven't really found the actual person that made it up. I've seen a couple of blogs on it, and no one's kind of referenced anyone. So apologies if this is stolen from someone. I don't want to kind of put it out there that I'm stealing this. This is something I heard on the radio, but it's brilliant. It actually does make sense to do this. And from my kind of research, people have done this and have actually successfully got a pay rise from it. So let me talk about REAP. Research. Look around, and I'm talking about proper research. I'm not talking about look at a job board or two and think that's what people are being paid, because that's not always kind of the actual salary that people are going to get paid when they work for that company. And maybe a couple of job boards are not producing the salary rate that you think you should be paid. So it might be worth you going a little bit more in depth. Now, there's a couple of job boards and recruitment agencies out there that will give salary guides to certain sectors. These are probably something that you need to look at. They'll give you a nice overall average view of that sector, that market, and hopefully drill down to that job that you're doing at the moment. So when you do your research, what you need to be doing is looking for key things about your role. What's that market average? What people are prepared to pay for certain amounts of years of experience, and kind of think of other factors involved in that as well. So what comes with that job? The benefits, the culture that these particular companies are kind of producing to pay for that. You know, you could be working for one company for twice the amount of money, but it's a horrible place to work with. So take these things into factor into the negotiation. The next part of this is establish. Now, what I mean by establish is, what do you want? Are you really seeking a pay rise? Or are you seeking better working conditions? What do you want the most? Now, a lot of people would say to me, and the classical example lately is the NHS pay rise. A lot of nurses and doctors and healthcare assistants have actually said they would rather better working practices, better working environment than just a 6% pay rise or a 4% pay rise. So what do you really want? Is it really money? Or do you want to work from home? If that's the case, then maybe your negotiation may not need to start with money. Maybe what you're seeking is a better work-life balance. But if it is money, and it truly is money, and you are truly being paid less than maybe your colleagues, or maybe you're paying less than the market rate, then you need to make sure you establish what that figure actually is. And I'm talking about a figure, not a range, a figure, an actual figure that you believe your value is at. Next part of this process is ask. Get a meeting, set it up with the right decision maker to discuss this information with. Sometimes your manager's not in control of your pay, but they are in control of what you do day to day. So maybe you need to set up this conversation initially with that manager so they can go off and ask that question for you. So basically what you need to do is ask what you want. No B plans or C plans just yet. We'll talk about that in a second, but ask what you want. This is why you want it, and this is what you've done, so it makes sure there's evidence and proof within that concept of what you're looking for. And this is how much I think I'm valued, or this is what I want to happen with that. And then the next step to do is persevere. Now, from my understanding at this stage, this is where all the nerves and angst really come into it, because you've done the hardest part, but this is where you're waiting for the answer. Now, not always you will get that answer, and maybe the answer might not be the answer you're looking for. But I tell you one thing, if there's a moment of negotiation in there, then you're onto something. That means that something is going to happen positive for you. You've just got to make sure you're prepared for that. So in this persevere part of it, long before you get to establishing what you want, you're prepared for a negotiation. So you understand that you want 40,000 and they're saying to you, no, we'll give you 36. Would you accept 36? Are you happy to accept 36? Is it, you're currently on 30. Is that something that you would take? Or is it 38? So when you're looking at the established part of what you want, 40 is the great figure. What would you take? And this is why you don't give the range, by the way. Because if you give a range, they hear the lower end and you're hearing the upper end. So you've got to be solid on what you're looking for. And then the negotiation starts after that. So these are the things that you need to think about. Also, persevere is another thing that might happen is the word no. If they say no to you, this is where plan B might come in. But it might be worth you asking why. And then establish around the reasons why. Maybe you didn't hit sales target, or maybe you didn't hit a target that they set you 6 or 7 months ago. So then it's a good opportunity in that situation to say, right, what have I got to do to achieve this pay rise? What have I got to do to achieve this figure that I am looking for? And then hopefully you will get that information and that answer in that scenario. Now, sometimes some companies are quite happy to negotiate around pay rise, especially if you as a person are producing value to that company. And this is a really important part about pay rise negotiations. You can't go and ask for more money when practically you're doing nothing for that particular company. You've got to be of some value. So that's where the EQ and IQ comes into about you and your position, your value proposition within that particular company. So you've got to understand that part of it. Though there are some companies that will not understand that your value is great enough. These are the ones that normally do a counter offer when you do decide to leave and they realize, shit, we're going to lose someone really good here. I'm not one of those recruiters who's going to say to you, don't accept a counter offer. I think there's many reasons why you should accept a counter offer, but there's equally as many reasons why you shouldn't. But what you need to understand is sometimes you will go into that conversation, ask for a pay rise, and you get the answer you don't want to hear. But try to get a solution. And if you can't get a solution, and what I mean by is a set of objectives to achieve in writing before you can then negotiate that pay again. So it's things you need to achieve. Most good managers will say something along those lines anyway. They will try to get you to do something in order to get that pay rise. It's part and parcel of it. But don't get offended if that's the situation, because it doesn't mean to say they don't value you. They just want to make sure that you are going to do what you say you're going to do and they get what they can from you at the same time. But if it all goes wrong and you don't get what you want and there's still a no and you don't get that kind of support or objectives to kind of achieve the next level and they really are taking the piss, then I would suggest that's probably a good time to start looking for another job. Now, this could happen really slowly or this could happen really fast. And that's why you've got to persevere. That last part of that negotiation, persevere, it doesn't just end when you do that meeting. It continues after that until your pay packet is showing what you're looking for, or at least a negotiated amount. I hope that helps. Good luck with it. I'd like to hear if you've tried this and how has it worked for you. Has it worked? Has it hasn't worked? Make sure you like and comment in the below. Good speaking to you all again. Take care.